What's up, guys? Welcome back to Spoiling Movies. My name is Chris, and I'm going to talk all about a movie, and I'm going to spoil it, and then I'm going to tell you the things that I liked or didn't like at the end, or anything interesting that I think about. This week's movie is Game Night, starring Jason Bateman and Rachel McAdams. The movie opens with Jason Bateman in a bar playing a trivia game. That's how he meets Rachel McAdams. They both answer the same question at the same time, fall in love immediately, and then there's a big cool montage with the Queen song playing in the background. They're crazy game nuts, and they're real competitive, and so it shows just them playing lots of different games and being competitive with each other and stuff. And eventually it shows them at a hospital place, and a doctor-type person is talking about whether or not they can have a baby, and she's like, "I'm not loving your semen." Apparently he has a lot of sperm cells, but they're not, very mobile, I guess. And they start talking about, well, he's very competitive, and that could be a part of it. And especially when his brother is around. He's super competitive because he doesn't want to lose to his brother. The brother is coming to town, so he might be getting nervous about, being around his brother, being competitive or whatever. They don't want their cop neighbor to know that they are having a game night. Apparently, they had invited him to a game night long ago. He lost his wife recently. He still wants to do the game nights. He's really into them. But they think he's really weird and creepy, so they don't want him to be there, so they're trying to be secretive. Cop neighbor dude is standing out there petting his dog, talking in a very monotone type of voice, and he's like, "What's that you got there? You got 3 bags of Tostitos scoops. You're planning on having a game night of some sort?" And they're like, no, it's just... Tostitos had a 3-for-1 sale. 3 for 1, huh? That can't be very profitable for them. So Jason Bateman and Rachel McAdams are in their house, and they're getting set up for the game night, and they're waiting for people to show up. Some people start crawling through their window, and they're like, "What the hell's going on here?" And they're like, "You told us not to come in through the front door." And it's like, "Well, I didn't say come in through the window like a friggin' like The Walking Dead or some shit." And then another couple shows up and comes through the window. Their friend Ryan is an idiot, and he also dates super hot idiot women. And they show a couple of flashbacks with some of his dumbass girlfriends that he's brought to the game nights. Jason Bateman's brother, his name's Brooks, and he's apparently he's a super wealthy, successful, awesome guy, and he succeeds at everything he does. And he shows up in a loud, fancy car that Jason Bateman was like, "That was my dream car when I was a kid." Now he's got it. He's just showing off. The cop guy hears the loud car and kind of comes outside with his dog again, but he's just standing in his doorway watching while Brooks and Bateman are having a discussion, and Brooks is talking very loudly about game night, and "I thought you said it was game night. Look, there's a bunch of people here." And the cop's just sitting there watching, and he kind of walks off. So when they get in there, they start playing a game, and in the middle of the game, Brooks stops to tell a story about Jason Bateman when he was a kid, and how he took a bungee cord and wrapped it around his legs and his neck because he was trying to suck his own dick, I guess. And everybody laughs, and Jason Bateman's like, "Fuck this," he's just always humiliating him and undermining him or whatever. At the end of this game night, Brooks invites them all to his big fancy place. He's like, "The next game night's gonna happen, in a little while, and you're all invited. It's gonna be the most crazy game night you've ever experienced. We're gonna up the ante. It's gonna be crazy, and we're gonna have it at my big fancy rich man place." And after he's gone, Rachel McAdams' lady character is being very supportive and very cool, and it's nice to see that in the wife character of these movies, that she's totally with him. She's like, "Yeah, your brother's actually a dick, and he's just trying to make you look bad all the time. Let's make sure we beat his ass when we do the game night thing." The cop neighbor guy is great. He talks to the couple and is like, "Well, I was gonna invite you to dinner tonight. I bought 4 lamb shanks, and it would have been nice to have you over. I guess they'll just go to waste." On the way to game night at rich dude Brooks's place, the wife's like, "Oh, look at that big fancy house he has. I bet he's compensating for something, right?" And Jason Bateman guy's like, "Nope, I've seen his dick. It's pretty great." Dumbass guy brings a smart lady with him this time, so he can win the game. "This game night is gonna be a murder mystery thing," says Brooks. "It's one of you is going to be kidnapped, and the rest of us, the winner will be the couple that finds finds the person and saves them from being kidnapped. And the winner is going to get his cool new car." A cop guy walks in and starts saying, there's a chance that one of you is going to be kidnapped, and this is how it's going to happen, and basically setting up the rules of the game. And he's like, I'll give each of you a dossier with information and clues, like how to find the kidnapped person. And then some people bust in behind him, kick the cop guy down, and start fucking kicking Brooks's ass. And they like, neat little fight scene. He grabs one of the bad guys and like throws him on a glass table, and it doesn't break. One of the dudes, one of his friends, is like, that's a strong ass table. So Brooks is taken away, and they think it's all part of the game, of course, and they're all clapping and like, yeah, this is really cool. The dossier thing that the guy gave them has like a little riddle in them to give a clue to where to find them, and the game begins. So dumbass guy and smart lady are a team. Other friend couple are a team, and Jason Bateman and Rachel McAdams are a team, and they're all, you know, those are the team. Jason and Rachel decide to use some tablet that Brooks has left to track his phone and like GPS his ass and like follow him, and they get to some weird shady bar. They see that Brooks is in the back, one of the back rooms, and he's got a bag on his head, and they're like, we're in the right place. Rachel McAdams found a gun at Brooks's place, and she thinks it's a fake. So she starts threatening everybody because the bad guys are there in the bar, and she's just waving it around. She's acting all cocky because it's part of the game, like, get down on the ground, you dirty bitches, and like fucking waving it around, and like, get down in the fucking yoga pose and shit. Sometimes in movies they use like miniature things because it's easier to do that, to make things look realistic rather than with special effects or whatever. So they use like miniature buildings during one of the miniature houses and stuff, and miniature cars, and it's pretty noticeable. And I couldn't tell if they were doing that on purpose or not. The smart lady with the dumbass guy figures out that if she just goes to the company that does the murder mystery thing and just pay him off to tell him where he is, then they'll win. So they go to a place and they find a girl who looks like she's dead. Turns out she's not dead. That was just like a character she was playing for another thing she was doing earlier in the night. And they're trying to pay her off. And dumbass guy is like, maybe this will change your mind. Slides a 10 over to her. And he's like, well, okay, fine. Up the sticks. Slides a 5 right next to the 10. It's like, okay, all right, you drive a hard bargain. Slides a 1 next to the 5 and the 10. And then he's like, all right, well, I see how this is going. I'm going to have to go all in. Slides another 1 right next to it. Total of $17. She's like looking at the smart lady like, what the fuck? And she's like, she just like gives her 100. A couple other gangster actor guys like break into Brooks's mansion place, and they find the cop dude on the ground, and they are all actors working for the company with the girl that they just bribed. And they get the phone call, and they're like, he's actually been taken. This isn't fake. So they get into the room where Brooks is with the bag on his head, and they start talking to him, and he's like, this is real. This is happening. I'm being kidnapped, and everything I told you was lies. I'm a smuggler, and I deal with a lot of bad people, and that's what's happening right now. The gun actually goes off and like ricochets and hits Bateman in the arm, and he starts bleeding, and he's like, ah! Rachel and Jason have Brooks in the car, and he's giving them exposition about all the bad things that he's doing and working with bad people, and he was supposed to get some Fabergé egg for some guy to make up for some money that he owed him or something. Brooks decides the best way to get them to be able to escape is to jump out of the car and let them keep going. So he jumps out of the car, he gets taken by the bad guys, and they keep driving. So Rachel and Jason go to a convenience store, and she gets some equipment to get the bullet out of his arm. And so there's a fun little scene where they're in an alley, and she's got some gloves. She's got a little knife thing to get the bullet out. So she's trying to take the bullet out with while Googling how to take a bullet out of somebody. And so she's trying to do that, and she makes a giant cut in his arm, and he's like, that's a really big cut. I don't think you were supposed to cut that much. She's like, I'm trying to do this thing, but the phone keeps turning off, keeps going into sleep mode or whatever. And he's like, well, all you need to do, don't be afraid of your phone. Just go in it and change the settings. She's like, no, it's fine. And he's like, a funny little back and forth. And she's like, no, I'll just, while I'm doing that, I'll just keep tapping it with my nose to keep the screen on. Which is funny, because I do that same shit sometimes. If my hands are like wet or dirty or something, instead of touching the phone, I'll just like put my nose to it, and then they realize that there's another hole on the other side of his arm. It's the exit wound. The bullet is not even in his arm, so that was all for nothing. Rachel McAdams is kind of a dumb character in this movie as well. She's a little bit of a dummy. All the main couples meet back up, and they go to the cop guy, because hopefully he'll have information if they, like, get into his computers or whatever. Cop guy is like, well, I'm glad you're all here. I've been waiting for this. I'd love to have a game night with all of you guys. Come on in. And he creepily backs away into his house, and then I guess we're supposed to follow him. So they get in there, and they're playing Jenga. Bateman pretends to go to the bathroom, but he sneaks into the cop's place, and he starts messing around on his computer, and he sees, like, a weird shrine thing to his dead wife. He figures out the name of the guy that was in charge of kidnapping Brooks. While Bateman is on the computer, the dog has come into the room, and his wound is now dripping blood onto the dog. He tries to clean the blood off the dog, and it's a white dog, and it just turns the whole dog pink, and he's like, that's just worse. This is way worse. And the dog, like, shakes itself and splatters blood all over the room. So they're going to try and find the Fabergé egg thing. They get to rich kingpin man's mansion, and they see that he's doing some sort of fight club thing where he's paid some, like, poor people or homeless people to fight for rich people's amusement. The dummy guy in the fight club room sees that the egg is in, like, a safe that was left open by one of the other rich guys in the background, and he goes and grabs it, and then everybody sees him there with it, and he just says some dumb shit and then starts running. And then there's a big long shot where somebody's running with the egg and people are chasing him, and then they toss it to the next, game night person. And then they keep running, and they toss it to another person. It just keeps going. It's a big, long, continuous shot. It's kind of cool. One of the people gets tossed into another glass table, and the guy says the same thing. He's like, why are these glass tables so strong? Which is funny, because it's like a movie trope thing, where you're in a house and somebody gets slammed into a glass table and it breaks, but none of the glass tables break in this movie. They got the egg, and they're in the car trying to get away, and they have to break the car real quick, and the egg flies out of Bateman's hand, or whoever's, and it smashes. And the pieces of the egg don't feel real, they feel like plastic. And then they do, like, another weird miniatures scene. They find a list of names inside the fake egg thing. The bad guys catch up to him, and they get him on the ground, and they're acting like they're about to kill him. Brooks' brother guy admits that he's cheated at all the games. He's just a big cheater. Everything he does is lies. The way he got rich is just by lying and doing bad shit, and he's been cheating his way through all the games. That's why he always wins. He admits that to Bateman. Then the neighbor cop guy shows up, and he shoots the bad guys. And then the cop gets shot by another bad guy, and he starts dying, and they have a moment, and it's kind of tense. And then cop guy reveals that it's blood capsules. He has orchestrated this whole thing. It's his big game night. Then the cop guy gets shot again by, like, some real bad guys. Apparently the list that they found with the names on it are people in the witness protection program. Brooks grabs the list, throws it in his mouth, and he eats it. So they grab Brooks and they take him on a plane. Brooks had given Bateman and Rachel the keys to his cool car. They get in the cool car and they chase the airplane as it's about to fly off into the fucking sky. They use the car to take out one of the wheels on the plane, so the plane fucking grinds to a halt. There's a tense moment on the plane with Bateman and the bad guys and whatever. Rachel comes through like a hatch in the top, drops an extinguisher on some guy, saves the day. And then there's another weird mini shot with the miniatures. Then they do this interesting thing at the end of the movie where while the credits are rolling, they're showing shots from inside the cop's house, where he has been planning all of these things out very meticulously to get people to hang out with him on game night. And it shows that he's alive and he's got his dog there, and he's been planning all this out, trying to make the most intense real game night that he can. And then there's more weird miniatures at the end, and that's the end of the movie. I actually ended up enjoying myself a lot more than I thought I would. I had actually heard a couple of good things, so I was kind of looking forward to watching it. I didn't buy any of the connection, the romance between Rachel McAdams and Jason Bateman, but whenever they were talking together, it was usually pretty fun. I like the writing of this movie, which is fun. I don't always get to say that. I very often say the opposite, where I hate the writing and I hate the way they write people's dialogue. And even though it's not necessarily like realistic dialogue, it's fairly fun, and there's a lot of little jokes. There's a ton of little jokes. And a lot of them worked. I connected with a lot of these jokes, and I thought they were pretty funny. I thought it was fairly clever. I think the person that wrote it was pretty clever. I thought the use of miniatures was very odd, and I still don't know. It didn't really seem to fit with the rest of the movie if it was obvious on purpose. This is actually a recommend from me. I think you guys should watch it. I told myself not to write down every little funny joke and every little thing that I chuckled or laughed at, because I want you guys to see this. I think it's pretty funny. The sound was pretty good. The music was neat. There was several moments where they used Queen songs. I love that cop neighbor guy. It's this guy. He's great in this performance. Just straightforward, monotone, never really smiles, just kind of always says, well, I wanted you guys to hang out with me on game night, and it turns out that's not going to happen. And that's basically it. It was an enjoyable experience. I thought it was okay. As far as a comedy, it's better than a lot that I've seen. It's not the best ever, but it was fun. I was really impressed with the cleverness of the dialogue and the little jokes that they threw in. And that was game night. I thought it was pretty cool. I do recommend it. I hope you guys enjoyed watching this. Please leave a comment. That way I know how you feel about it. Maybe you'll see the movie, maybe you won't. Catch you next time. I didn't know for sure if it was Rachel McAdams. I always get Rachel McAdams, Amy Adams, and Elizabeth Banks confused, partially because of names and partially because of looks. Amy McRachel, Elizabeth McBanks, Rachel McAmy's, Elizabeth McAdams, Rachel McBanks. Banksy the Rachels.
Rachel McElizabeth, Amy McBanks.
Amy McRachel McElizabeth McBankses.
What the fuck is going on with my eye? I got fucking game night boogers in my eyes.
Game night boogers in my eyes.
Seriously, what the fuck? A fucking hair in my eye or something.